All right, welcome to Crash. This is Grayson Smart speaking with the beard. Preston Maxwell is going to be doing the lesson this week, so here's Preston Maxwell.
Welcome to Crash, everybody. Let's try this again. Welcome to Crash. I'm Preston. That's Grayson. Bryce over here, and Austin in the back. First off, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their summer to be here, whether it's these guys sitting next to me, the guy working media, or y'all joining us online. Honestly, I thank y'all, each and every one of you, for being here and listening to this right now. First off, we're going to open with a description of the movie Lone Survivor. Some of y'all may have heard of it. It became real popular when they turned it into a movie. Mark Wahlberg starring in it. I'm sure you know who Mark Wahlberg is. Basically, Lone Survivor tells the story of a four-man Navy SEAL team who was sent to capture or kill a high-value target in the Taliban. The mission goes south when they're hiding in the hills, and a group of sheep herders or goat herders discover them. The goat herders run back down and tell the Taliban who they are. The Taliban, about 200 members of them, come down and attack the Navy SEALs. At this point, they're outnumbered severely and they're outgunned. They have, literally the worst odds you could ever ask for. Their comms are down, so they can't radio for any reinforcements. So it's 4 to almost 200 people. At this point, they're losing Navy SEALs. Almost all of them have been shot. They're losing Navy SEAls. The comms guy is down. So they've already lost one Navy SEAL. At this point, the lieutenant goes up and makes a very bold decision. He walks out in the middle of this valley where everybody can see him, pulls out his sat phone and calls the base and says, "We need reinforcements." As he's making this call, he gets shot twice. As soon as he puts the sat phone down, he gets shot twice more. He died right there. Now, Marcus Luttrell, who is the author of this book and was one of the Navy SEALs that was there, watched his best friend die. Lieutenant Michael Murphy, the name of the guy that was shot right there, was Marcus's best friend. And it was horrible for Marcus. At this point, Marcus and Axe were the only two people remaining. And eventually, Axe got killed by the Taliban as well. Marcus, at this point, is the only one remaining. And he managed to crawl several miles and make it to a village. And some anti-Taliban Afghanis, I guess you could call them, I don't know what you call people in Afghanistan. Whatever, Afghanis, we'll keep that. Took him in and protected him from the Taliban until he could get a message back to a U.S. base and they came to rescue him. So that's kind of my version of it. I would highly suggest you to watch the movie, but it is much better. The book's very thick, much better than my version. So now we're going to watch a clip, and you're actually going to listen to Marcus Luttrell kind of retell his account of Michael Murphy dying.
And in 2005, a vicious firefight led to one of the most extraordinary stories of bravery from the war in Afghanistan. A team of Navy SEALs was sent into the mountains to hunt for a militia leader, but only one SEAL came out alive. Anderson Cooper spoke to Marcus Luttrell for last night's 60 Minutes.
Luttrell says the SEALs were surrounded. They hadn't gone through on the radio, so he says Lieutenant Mike Murphy decided to move to a completely exposed position so he could get a signal on his satellite phone and call for backup.
Mikey was out and pushed out onto this boulder out in the middle of the draw, and it's wide open, no cover, nothing. He was on a satellite phone.
Luttrell saw his lieutenant make the call, a call Mike Murphy knew would likely cost him his life.
Took 2 rounds to the chest because he spun like a top, and it dropped him. I made my way up to him, and he's my best friend, and I already lost Danny, and I knew that Axe was dying. I didn't want to lose him, and then he started to crawl left, and I was out in the open, waving my hands. I was like, "Just come down to me." That's all I wanted him to do, was just come down to me. And I heard his gun go off, and a lot of gunfire in his area. I was trying with everything I had to get to him, and he started screaming my name. He was like, "Marcus, man, you gotta help me. I need help, Marcus." That it got so intense that I actually put my weapon down and covered my ears because I couldn't stand to hear him die. All I wanted him to do was start screaming my name. and they killed him. And I put my weapon down in a gunfight while my best friend was getting killed. So that pretty much makes me a coward.
Yeah, how can you say that?
Say what?
Why do you think that?
Why I think what?
That putting a weapon down makes you a coward.
Because that is a coward's act. If you put your weapon down in a gunfight. You know, they say every man has his breaking point. I never thought I'd find mine. The only way you break a Navy SEAL is you have to kill us. But I broke right there. I quit right there.
Still, Marcus Luttrell says he managed to pick up his weapon and found Matt Axelson, the only other SEAL left alive.
He was below me. And he had crawled under this rock overhang. And I crawled in there and I was looking, like, we're going to die, man. We're going to die right now.
You said that?
Mm. And I made my peace with God a long time ago about dying. But most of the time, we don't know when we're going to die. They just shut our light off. And it's a weird feeling when you know the Reaper's at the door.
You know, Charlie, this is such an incredible story. I know you've spoken with Marcus Luttrell before, as have I, and one of the most harrowing accounts early on in the war in Afghanistan, what our Navy SEALs have been through. That story is so incredible. What he's been through since on the road to recovery.
And people who came in to help them were also killed.
Yes, right. Now it's going to be on the big screen in Hollywood, so people can learn more about that.
Thank you. All right. So if you want to learn more about No Survivor, that's what it is called. There's a book on it, and then there's a movie about it. So there's a reason I showed you all that video clip, and we're going to get to that in just a second. And I probably should have mentioned before I showed you all the video, there were 16 of their team members that tried to come and rescue those 4 SEALs, and they were all killed. Their helicopter was shot down. So in addition to losing 3 SEALs, we lost 16 more that day. So I just wanted to make that clear. So the reason I showed you all that video, there's a point to all this. That video represents our battle/walk as a Christian. Okay? We're Mike Murphy, the guy that walked out, exposed himself, and made that sad phone call. And the devil's the Taliban. Okay? We stand there being bombarded by Satan, and we cry out to God for help. Okay? But you see that God would be Marcus Luttrell if Jesus hadn't died on the cross. Think about that for a second. Jesus died on the cross to save our sins. And if he hadn't done that, God would be standing there covering his ears as we cried out for his help. He'd be standing there saying, I can't help you, because you've sinned repeatedly and I can't do anything for you. But since Christ died on the cross, that means that God embraces us with open arms each and every time we sing out to him. That's why I showed you all that video. So, before I dive into this, I want to explain again. I explained this in the last video, but one of my best friends and fellow teacher that teaches with me up here brought up a very good point, I guess, about 2 months ago. And he explained this. He told me, look, before you teach any lesson, you need to have a why, what, and a challenge. So every scripture that I have, I'm going to ask you a why. So whether you're watching this at home or whether you're sitting here with me, I'm going to ask you why. Y'all can obviously answer the why here. If you're at home, you can answer the why too. I just can't hear you, obviously. Yeah. So, we're diving into our first scripture. First scripture that we're going to get into is Hebrews 12, 7 through 12. So if y'all have Bibles here, you can set the turn there. Alright, so I think that we got one guy getting there, but I'm going to go ahead and start because it's a very long passage. Hebrews 12, 7 to 12. There's no first Hebrews in the Bible. And your hardship is discipline. God is treating you as his children. For what children are not disciplined by their father? If you are not disciplined, and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are not legitimate. Then you are not legitimate. Not true sons and daughters at all. Moreover, We have all had human fathers who have disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father's Spirit's annual life? They disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines us for our good, in order that we may share in His holiness. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Therefore, strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. So let's break this down. First question I'm going to ask you is, why is God submitting us to hardship? Well, it talks about that in the passage, but let's just go over it. Why is God submitting us to hardship? So we'll start with Chris later. You want to take a step this real quick? Yeah, you have a ball of knowledge here. You're going to pass it around. A ball of knowledge. You want the microphone here? Ball of knowledge.
You can have a microphone. Yeah. All right. So, basically, hardships make you stronger. Oh yeah, closer. All right. Hardships make you stronger. You know, there's like a, what does make us stronger? You know? She said the best right there. Yeah. I'll say that.
All right, that's great. So I don't know, you may have to actually come up to use the microphone, so we'll just let you take a stab at it before you go through it.
Hardships, they kind of make you, how is it? It's kind of hard to explain. Trying to make other people like get build up something like that.
Build you up more, I think that's what he's trying to get at. Oh, okay, ball. We'll put it up there for a second. All right. So, what does it say biblically? Well, I just read this passage, but we're going to go over it one more time. Not we're going to read the passage, but we're going to go over the explanation. You are disciplined as a Christian so that you may be more mature in your faith, and so that you may be a legitimate Christian. Because God knows that discipline for you is going to make you better as a Christian. He knows what is best for you. He knows no matter what He's doing for you is going to be best for you. Your earthly father does not, but He does. So trust that the discipline and hardships you are going through are going to better you as a Christian and as a person. Remember that. The next verse that we're going to go to is James 1:2-4. So I'll give you all a second to turn there. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I'm big on the book of James. I love James. James is basically a book telling a Christian how they should live, the characteristics of a Christian. I am big on the book of James. At some point, I'm going to do a lesson on that. But so this is kind of one of my favorite books in the Bible, and this is kind of the opening to James. This is pretty much one of the opening verses. So this is a very interesting verse. You all there? You got it? You got it? So it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Okay. So that kind of goes along with Hebrews 12:7-12. But the first few words that really catch my attention. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. When I first read that, I thought, that cannot be right, because when I face trials, I don't think happiness. I think anger, sadness, and destruction. But when you keep reading, it just kind of reaffirms what Hebrews says. Because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And also allows you to be more mature and complete, not lacking anything. Okay, so the next question I'm going to ask you along with this, the next time you face trials, why should you be joyful and not angry? Because the first thing I come to is anger, destruction, sadness. So, you want to take a stab at it? Or want to get the ball of knowledge here? And the microphone of truth.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as last time. He's basically trying to make you a better person, trying to shape you in the right way. That's basically all he's trying to do through trials and all of that.
All right. So basically, it's just weather your skin in the make you tougher. It's like the more you endure that stuff, the stronger they'll be against it. And the bigger the thing has to be in order to hurt you.
That was great. Thank you. I was taking the microphone with 2 hands. I didn't know how to press that one. So something else I want to say, when you face hardships, as a teacher and as having a Bible study group, when I face hardships, I call up Nate, I call up these guys and say, man, I'm having a hard time. I need to talk about it, I need y'all to help. Isn't that right? I call you up, he calls me up. That happens with everybody in Bible study. If you don't have people that you do that with, I encourage you to find those people so that you can call when you have hardships. Because dealing with hardships by yourself will kill you inside. First, you need to go to God with them, and then you need to go to people that you trust with them. Next verse that we're going to go to has helped me through a lot of hard times. Is John 14, 1 through 2. Middle of the Bible. You know it. Yeah, 14, 1 through 2. I don't know if y'all online can see that, but I actually have it written here. That's good. Grayson, you there? Yeah. All right. Okay. So, if you're not there online, you can pause and then when you're there, okay. Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God. Remember that. You believe in God. Believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you? Obviously talking about heaven, not your little house. Don't get that confused. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Please remember that. Do not let your heart be troubled. You believe in God. Just stop there. Because with everything you endure in life, if you take it to God, you know that He is in control, and no matter what happens, it is for the better of you. Because God is putting you and enduring you through these hardships for a reason. We just read that in Hebrews. God's in control. There is no one smarter. There's no one wiser. There's no one better. There's no one more terrible. There's no one more amazing. I can go on and on with God. He created you. He created the universe. He created everything you see around you. Trust in Him. And believe me, I know it's hard. Because I have problems doing it. Everyone in this room does. Everyone around the world does. And if you say that you don't, you're lying. Just like people would say, everybody's a sinner in here. That one guy that doesn't raise his hand, you're lying. You're not that. It's a very hard thing to trust your problems to God because you feel like that you can take care of it yourself. But not only can He take care of it, He takes all that weight off your shoulders. Doesn't it? Doesn't it? Austin, doesn't it? It's an incredible feeling when you take that burden off of your shoulders. So the question I'm going to ask you now, why is this helping you deal with hard times? Why is giving your hard times to God helping you deal with them? So we're going to pass the ball on the archer and my friend to Preston.
Well, with whenever I serve up here, it just makes me feel like I've basically been I've been rewarded for basically being and believing in Him. That's all.
I felt it.
So, yeah, I get you. Well, basically, I'm a pretty strong guy. I can give the weight on my shoulders. But God's a lot stronger than I am. He can take even more. And, a lot more. And sometimes I carry a lot of weight. And I can put some on Him. And it's a little easier to bear the weight.
I appreciate that. Can I put the ball of truth, please?
Wait.
Ball of knowledge, my bad. Mic of truth, I'm sorry about that. So coming from these two guys, let me tell you to that perspective. He's up here like lives at church, quite literally. He works media. This guy serves at church so much that he practically could live up here. Okay? So coming from these two people, saying that the weight coming off their shoulders means that much, you need to do it. Just the feeling is incredible. And I serve right along with him. We serve together. I serve together with him. We are all up at the church 24/7. We're up here all the time and we love it. So let me tell you, if we're having problems with it, as much as we're strong with Christ, then I know how hard it is, because we're right there with all you. Hand it over to Christ. So the next one we're going to go to, and hopefully I can say it without stumbling, Deuteronomy 31:8. Last time I tried to say Deuteronomy, I couldn't say it. Deuteronomy 31:8. The microphone through that. Austin, you okay there? Okay. Do you feel lonely? Jesus can help. 1-800 Jesus. Don't jack my microphone up. Don't you touch that. Don't do it. Okay. Don't. Okay, you there? You there? Okay. Deuteronomy 31:8. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Let's start that over one more time. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. That is a very, very powerful verse. Highlight that. Put it on your phone. Make it your screensaver. Highlight it. Highlight it. Highlight it. Put it on your screensaver, your phone. Put it on the front of your Bible. Whatever. Hang it in your car. I mean, seriously. Put it somewhere. In your bathroom. On the mirror. Somewhere where you see it all the time. Whenever you are feeling afraid, whenever you're feeling discouraged, whenever you're feeling like you're not big enough to tackle problems that the Lord has given you, or problems in general, read this verse. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, because the Lord is with you. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. There is nothing the Lord cannot do. Apart from God, you can do nothing. With God, you can do anything. The Lord can do anything. Remember that. So, why should you never feel afraid? Well, why? Why should you never feel afraid? I'm going to pass. Hold on. The ball of knowledge. Okay.
Well, what was the question again?
Why should you never feel afraid?
Well, it says right in the Bible that stop popping with the mic. Well, it says right in the Bible that you should always put your faith into Jesus, and I always do. I pray constantly about it, and I'm going to pass this over to Grayson because.
Yeah, sitting in the throne of greatness, shall holy book the ball of knowledge and of truth. I'll say that really just don't be afraid, because you're never alone, and you're stronger than you think when you're with God. I mean, it will give you the strength you need to push through. So.
Hey, you should be afraid right now. You're sitting in my chair. Get out. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. So, those were great answers. I'm serious. Write this somewhere where you see it every day. I mean, it's incredible how much this applies to your everyday life. Okay? The final verse that we're going to come into here is Luke 12:22 through 34. And this is almost like a parable. It's not a parable, but it's long enough to be a parable. So I'm actually going to sit down for this one. Yeah, you know it's long, I got to sit down. It's a good passage. Okay. You there? You there? Okay. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you eat, or about your body, what you wear. For life is more than food, and body more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn. Yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than birds? Who are you by word? Who of you by wording can add a single hour to your life?" Let's read that one more time. Who of you by wording can add a single hour to your life? Remember that. We're going to come back to that. Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? Consider how the wildflower grows. They do not labor or spin. But I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes a grass of the field, which here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not set your heart on what you eat or drink. Do not worry about it. For the pagan world runs after all these things, after all such things. And your Father knows you need them. But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourself that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will not fail, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, your heart will be also. So I stumbled a couple times, sorry about that. But here's the parts that we need to grasp. For life is more than food. That is important. Okay? I'm going to read off the important parts and then come back to each of them. Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life? Okay, and the last one is do not worry about it. Do not worry about it. That's it. Simple sentence. So we're going to go back to the beginning real quick. For life is more than food. Well, what does that mean? Okay, it's a simple sentence. Well, in context, what it means is basically this. Your life is made up of more than the simple things you see, like food, clothes, what you wear, how your hair is done, the shoes that are on your feet, what time lunch is today, who am I going to sit by the lunch table, all that kind of thing. Those are the stuff that we worry about kids going to high school. If you're going to work as an adult, probably some different things. What that's meaning is God is wanting you to be more concerned about kingdom, his kingdom, godly things, the things that he has set before you to do, his will that he set before you. So don't be concerned about the little things. What time's lunch? The girl I'm going to sit by, is she cute? That's a good one. That's a great one, actually. What time do I get off work? All that stuff. Worry about the things that really matter. How many people did I tell about Christ today? Did I curse today? Did I lead a Christ-reflecting life today? That's what that means. The next one is, who of you by worrying can add a single hour of your life? Raise your hand if you can add a single hour of your life by worrying. And for those of you, I don't know if you can see online, but not a single one of us in this room raised our hand. And if you did, you would be blind. That would be sin, because not a single one of us can. So this is no good to worry about anything. And you know why? Because God is in control. You should be giving all of your worries to God. Because God is in control of everything. He knows what's going to happen. Once again, take that burden off your shoulders because you can't do anything about it. You know it. I know it. You know it. Austin, you know it. There is no point in being concerned with everything when you can do absolutely nothing about it. Last one is do not worry about it. And that kind of ties into the last one, but do not worry about it. Just don't concern yourself with it. Because once again, God's in control of everything. God's in control of your life. When you give it to him and you become a Christian, you're saying, God, I want to follow you. God says, give it all to me. Let me control it. Everything on this earth is his. Let him control it. Don't worry about it. Everybody get it? You got it? You're smiling like it's... Does that sound like for you? Don't you? Okay, it's 90%. Alright. Sorry, question. Sorry about that. Why should we worry about our everyday needs when we should really be giving to God? Anybody want to take a stab at that? That's the hardest one yet. Austin, you can take a stab at this one, you want? Okay.
We all make mistakes. Yeah.
Let me rephrase this, because I got that wrong. Why do we worry about our everyday needs when we should be giving them to God? I like that. What
How's the soccer stop, bro?
What?
Nice week. Soccer stop.
Okay.
Alright. What's the question?
Why do we worry about our everyday needs when we really should be giving them to God?
Well, really, it's just because it's easier to worry about our everyday needs. I mean, it's easier for me to choose like chocolate cake over, and girls. Just like those things come to my mind pretty easily, pretty fast. But if I'm just hanging out with my buddies, just random verses don't start popping in my head. But things about cake and girls do. So it's just easier to think about that stuff.
So, while we're on the topic of girls, I stay up here for just a second. Will you come over to my left, this side real quick, please? I have a question for you. Since we're giving everything to God, what would you say, when you're in a relationship with a girl, do you give everything in that relationship to God? Does everything reflect God in that relationship, or do you try to take it into your own hands? What should you do there? What should
Well, I believe it says everything, so that includes it, even though it's one of the hardest ones because it's the putting in your own hands can get pretty fun, but can end up in some really bad places. I'll end it on that.
You couldn't answer that better. I was trying to figure out how to word that, but you could not have answered that question any better than you did. When you enter anything hard, give it to God. Let's just end it that way. So, why are we concerned with the things in life that don't matter? Because like the Bible says, life is more than food. We shouldn't be concerned with things that don't matter. You shouldn't worry about everyday needs when you give your everyday needs to God. You should begin your life in a holy manner when you give everything to God. Your life is completely redone when you give everything to God. And there's the leading me. So, but one more thing before we go into the challenge. You should be concerned with God's work in your life and His will for you, not food and water. God will take care of you. That's what I want to know. God will take care of you. No matter what, God will take care of you. Okay? I'm going to give you the challenge and then we're going to pray. So, the challenge this week, I challenge you, the next time that you endure a hardship, to, instead of dealing with it yourself, give it to God. Some of you, this is going to be very, very uncomfortable and very, very hard to do. How far is this mic cord go?
Pretty far.
We're actually going to walk over real quick. Okay, some of you, this is going to be really hard to do. But this is why I'm saying this. When you endure a hardship and keep it to yourself, it kills you inside. It affects your everyday life because all you're thinking about is that hardship. You can't do anything else but think about that hardship, and it affects your decisions, it affects your life, it affects your relationships, it affects how you function. When you give it to God, all that weight is transferred to Him. And all you see now is His love, His compassion, His will for you. That's how He intended for you to live your life. So you can carry out His will. That problem, that hardship, is interfering with your relationship with Christ. You need to get that out of the way. That is a challenge I give you. That will be very hard for some of you to do, but once you do it, you will never go back to dealing with it yourself. Let's pray. Lord, I thank you so much for allowing us to come together and congregate like this, because in so many countries you can't do that. You're persecuted for your faith. Lord, I thank you for all the people in our life that keep me accountable, that remind me that you're Lord, that remind me each and every day that we have a purpose to serve you, Lord. I thank you for all the people that come to Bible study, and allow me to share the word. Allow me to share your word. I pray that each and every day you would remind us how amazing, how incredible, how awesome you are. In your name I pray. Amen. All right, guys. Well, I thank you so much for being here. Bryce. Okay, don't high five. That's cool. Whatever. Grace, you're in the back. Can't give you a high five. But those of you who are online, we love each and every one of you for coming and watching. Please continue to do that. If you know anybody that likes Christian, likes to watch stuff like this, please tell them about us. Okay, we do this at our high school, so we have a lot of high schoolers that come on a week-to-week basis and listen to us. But we love teaching to y'all too. We love it. So please tell people about us. So until next week, hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Got the beats going out. Okay.